Joining us now on Six News, the two newly elected One Nation MPs in WA, Rod Caddies and Phil Scott. Gentlemen, both great to have you here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
pleased to be on here, Leo.
Rod, I'll start with you. You're the party's state leader. Obviously, One Nation wasn't able to get any seats up in 2021 after having success in 2017. New upper house reform, obviously, a lot of things have changed. You happy with the result that you've managed to get?
Oh, I think it's a pretty good result when you look at what's going on in the state and the parties. There's a lot of small parties run, and for One Nation to get two seats up, it's a fairly decent accomplishment, I think.
And Phil, I know you've been waiting quite some time for confirmation of your victory. What was it like for you when it was finally confirmed by the WAEC?
Well, for 5 weeks, it was like being in COVID lockdown again. I didn't really know where my life was going. And my boss at work was asking me, what the hell's going on? I don't understand how this political system works. And it was just a huge relief at the end. I was going to accept the result whether I won or lost, but it was painstaking for everyone involved. But I believe the commission was probably only about a week later than normal, and that may have been down to the removal of group ticketing this time in WA. I think the concerns were more around the day itself and things like running out the ballot papers and things like that.
And would you, I'll direct this one to you, Phil. Are you looking to, as other parties have talked about, I know the Nationals have been going on this since election day, looking to kind of deal with this in Parliament and ensure that it's a much smoother process in 2029?
Well, I think the biggest question mark, and I noticed this before the election, was the outsourcing to Kelly and Kelly personnel. And I saw that advertised. I thought, oh, goodness me, I've never seen that before. And I think it's alarming that that didn't go before state parliament and that decision was made outside the oversight of parliament. I think that's the big question mark. And the fact they gave a substantial donation to the presiding government. On a personal level, I'd like to see voter ID come in. I mean, we ask for ID for everything else, but not the right to vote. No, I find that inconsistent.
Rod, obviously there's quite a few issues going on in state politics at the moment. I know federal is getting everyone's attention. What's One Nation's really key things to do as soon as you're sworn in, and it's a month away from now, as soon as you're sworn in, what are you really going to be addressing?
Well, I think we've already started. Oh, well, I have. I've started compiling a lot of questions. I think one of the things we'll be addressing is the COVID issue. One Nation believes we should have a royal commission, and the major parties haven't agreed with that. Nothing's happened with that, so we'll just hold our own royal commission through questions on notice. I mean, that's just one of a broad amount, of issues that we're going to address. But I think a lot of people want to have answers in WA on what happened and why a lot of decisions were made. So we're going to ask a lot of questions on notice.
And the Liberals and the Nationals have been really decimated over the past few elections, 2021 especially, but even now, still a fairly poor result for them in both houses. How are you going to be more effective as an opposition voice then?
I think I'm going to try to work with all parties, including the Greens. I think the Greens will have something in common with us, that they'll want to be on the side of climate change, and they'll be pressing the government to do things on that. So, we can work together to push the government to do that, but we can expose the flaws in that climate alarmism. So I think there's room for us to really put pressure on the government and succeed in getting answers in a lot of things we want. So. They didn't make enough noise. Even when you're in the opposition, even though they were decimated a little bit and numbers were down, I still don't think they made enough noise as an opposition throughout the 4 years. Yes, Labor had a dominance there, but I think we need to be a lot louder, not as in obviously louder vocally, but, you know, bringing a lot more to the table in as a crossbench. I think that's going to happen. We'll put a lot more pressure on the Labor government than they've had, not just because we got the crossbench and that and more numbers, but we just have the opportunity to call them out on a lot of things, because when you're talking about Nationals and Liberals, they're responsible for things that have happened in the past. So quite often you'll find they don't call them out on things because they might have been part of the problem in the past that's created that issue to start with.
And Phil, what are you, similar question, what are you really looking forward to getting into issues-wise once you're sworn in?
Well, I think it's keeping the government honest and accountable, making sure that the appointments they make are based on merit rather than jobs for the boys, keeping the separation of powers present, and making sure that they're not taxing by stealth. I mean, the water bills have gone up excessively, and people are saying that's a form of indirect taxation that the householders are having to meet. So there's a lot of issues that can be raised. It's a matter, as Rod said, of raising our voices to make that clear. And the Liberals and Nationals did a lot of fence sitting while in opposition. One Nation was the party that took a very clear lead on the voice, while Libby, Madam, and others were like fence sitting or changing their mind. So with One Nation, you know what you're going to get, and we're not beholden to any big power brokers or organisations. We're very much a grassroots party, and that was shown by the very small funding we have for this campaign. So for two of us to get up on very little money was a huge achievement, and I believe that's a credit to the very passionate candidates we had who were doing it because they loved their country and they could see that Australia was heading down the wrong track. It wasn't, they knew a lot of them, they weren't going to win, but they wanted to get out there. And the beauty of it, these weren't career politicians. They were people from normal jobs, tradespeople, engineers. They were of all ethnic backgrounds, and they just want to keep Australia prosperous and peaceful. And they hate seeing the way the country's going, especially the migrants, because they came here under the understanding that we had a good standard of living, that we would have our freedoms protected, and they're seeing the same mistakes being made here as they saw overseas from their countries of origin.
Rod, it must be a huge benefit for you to have Phil elected as well, rather than you essentially almost being a party of one in Parliament, actually having another party colleague, which also puts you look at the numbers, I think you're better than legalised cannabis in the numbers, which surprised some people as well, but it must be huge support for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's, there's numerous reasons why it's a benefit both to myself, the party, and to WA, because having that extra member, it shares. I've got someone to share the workload, the portfolios. It's pretty hard to be across everything in society that's going on. So if you can half that straight away, you're already better off in that sense. So there's that. You got more resources. We've got, with Phil getting elected now, you've got an electorate allowance you can use in the community. You can get out there. There's two people getting out in the community and hearing what's going on. You've got, it's just the double. You've got two staff each. So rather than just having two staff to deal with, we'll have four now that can be looking at legislation and working on, how we can make things better for WA and improve it. So yeah, it's a great thing. And I've got a buddy there to sort of, you're not that lone person in Parliament. You've got someone beside you to help you fight through that and to bounce ideas off, because you're not always right, and sometimes it's good to bounce ideas off another person. So it's great to have him there.
Rod, there has also been. Go ahead, Phil.
It's great because Rod and I were with the West Australian Party when it was resurrected in 2016. So we've known each other a long time. So we understand our different personalities, and I think we will both bring things to the table.
Yeah, Rod, something that, some people pointed out, I'm sure you would well known, is that, One Nation as a party has had sitting members defect from the party, not irregularly. Are you confident that that's something that is going to be avoided? You're happy to stay with One Nation and continue leading it in WA and building up the state branch?
Oh, definitely. I think there's a lot of inner workings go on in politics, and whether that be decisions made, people are elected, and Phil's aware of it, and many people in the past are aware of it. You get elected. I did a hard job, like I put in a lot of hours to getting elected myself. If you look at my below the line votes, I got a lot of votes below the line, comparatively to a lot of people. So there's still a lot of hard work goes in, but you get elected under a banner of One Nation under Pauline. And what's happened in the past, I believe, and I know these people, the people that have left, some of them I've known about them prior to them getting in. There is self-interest in life. You've obviously got to have some self-interest to progress in life, but I think sometimes the motivation and the end goals of some of these people have never been about the state and country, or it's been a little bit too much of the self-interest thing. So if anyone was going to stay together, it will be myself and Phil with Pauline. I haven't seen a reason at this point. I've been with the party. I stepped back for a little while, but I was exhausted. I just ran in 2 campaigns, missed out, spent a lot of money, and I needed a break. Pauline's always been good to me. She's always stayed in communication. We're pretty much a bit like friends. She's not the nasty sort of grumpy woman to these candidates. They're leaving for all different reasons. But I think there's been some pretty decent reasons for the party. I'm trying to think how to put it in a way. I don't feel some of these candidates have left for the right reasons. I don't think it's the party's fault. I think it's the members of Parliament's fault.
And yeah, just quickly, Phil, you mentioned there that you've been with the party for just under a decade now in the Western Australian branch with Rod. So sounds like you're all on board with sticking with it as well.
Oh yeah, when you've been on the roller coaster ride that Rod and I have been on, nothing surprises you, and you've got to have that resilience in politics to get across the bad moments, to wait for the good times to come. And I've stuck with this party because we're the party that really stands for true Australian values, that will protect our heritage and the nation that sadly has been going down the tube. I mean, with all the resources we've got, we shouldn't have over 120,000 homeless in this nation. It's a national blight. Shame.
Just finally, Rod, I'll direct this one to you. We've obviously got the Senate election coming up. One Nation, I think has a good chance in pretty much all Senate races nationwide. Close in 2022 in Western Australia. We know obviously Labor had a bit of an inflated vote there, which was how you got Fatima Payman in the 6th seat. That's maybe not as likely to happen this time. How are you feeling about that campaign? Because it's very busy times for you, I can imagine, going from one campaign straight to the next.
Yeah, I was pretty I'm pretty drained, that's for sure. But I'm soldiering on. We need to get this done. We need to get Tyrone Whitten elected into the Senate. Great guy, will be a great representative for Western Australia and for Australia. I think we're doing very well on the ground. There's a big momentum happening. I think getting Phil on board now, having a second member, shows that One Nation are strong. We are very under-resourced. We need more volunteers. We're financially really struggling. However, people are still voting for us. Our polling has showed, as you'd be well aware, Leo, you've seen it. It's been jumping around a bit lately, but we were polling 3.5% or something last federal election, and we've been polling 8 or 9, 7, sort of 7, 8, 9s, consistently over a period of time. So we're polling double what we were last federal election, and you never know with politics. But I'm feeling pretty confident if things roll the way they do in the state election, in the federal election. We had strong preferencing flow our way in the state election, and I imagine it could be a repeat of that in the federal election. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident of getting a member up here. And people have a go at you for saying that, but I don't have a problem with saying that. I said it back in the state election, and people online attack you for that, thinking you're arrogant or something. I don't think it's arrogance. It's I believe that the people of Western Australia understand they need something different, and One Nation provides that. So I think we're a fair chance.
Well, we'll be covering it very closely. Rod, Caddies, Phil Scott, congratulations again on your election. I'm sure we'll catch up in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, Larry.